Earlier today, Vice President Joe Biden announced a new administration proposal that could change the rules for some financial advisors. The plan would prevent money managers from earning a commission from the funds they choose. Here to talk about that proposal is Jared Bernstein, the Vice President's chief economist. He is now joining us from the White House. Jared, thanks so much for your time. Let me first ask you about how this plan works. I mean, they can't recommend a mutual fund if they get a commission from that fund, or if their advice is based on a certified and objective computer model. Is that little loophole still in there?
Unless their advice is based on a certifiable, objective, unbiased model. This is really a conflict of interest rule. Right now, there's nothing to protect consumers of financial products, particularly in the 401k space, from investment advice that may not be profitable for them, but is profitable for the investment manager who's making the pitch. And so this is a rule open for public comment starting today, proposed by the Department of Labor under the aegis of the Middle Class Task Force to get that conflict of interest out of the picture, protect consumers so that they can consume retirement products with the confidence that they're not being sold something that's less profitable for them than for the seller.
Jared, I got to switch to the economy because this has been a focal point, as you know, today for us here at Bloomberg and certainly for a lot of investors. The GDP number coming in better than expected, our second reading. A lot of that, though, was due to restocking of inventories. That's not necessarily sustainable, some would say, to long-term economic growth. I mean, what are your expectations? Can we continue growth at this level, what, 5.9% here?
I think most forecasts of the quarter-by-quarter movement is for less GDP growth in coming quarters, but continued expansion, growth closer probably to 3 or 4 than 5 or 6. But the fact is that we are back from the abyss, that the economy is expanding again. And by the way, from the perspective here at the White House, it's important to recognize that even with that inventory swing, most independent analysts credit the Recovery Act for a good chunk of the turnaround. Remember, contracting at 6% in the first quarter of last year, expanding now just about 6% in the fourth quarter. And I think the important point is that there is a lot more ammunition left in that Recovery Act, both in terms of GDP, but much more important in terms of jobs. If you look at the projects in the Recovery Act, the infrastructure, the transportation, the construction, they're spending out at 133% this year relative to last year.
Jared, you say we're back from the abyss. Let me ask you, though. You say we're back from the abyss, but you look at the labor market, we're certainly not. And if you look at the housing market, some significantly disappointing news today.
Two important markets.
Really important point. When I say abyss, I'm talking GDP. As far as the labor market is concerned, we're far from out of the woods. Sure, we're losing jobs at a lesser rate, but that is not what we're looking for here. The expectation is that we're going to break zero in terms of net job growth, but that's not enough either. We've got to get that unemployment rate coming down. And that takes you right to the president's agenda to build off of some of the successes of the Recovery Act so far with some targeted job measures that he and the Congress are working on.
Jared, you know, I mean, 10% unemployment certainly sounds like abyss level to me. A lot of people are arguing that the White House needs to stop toying around with other things and really focus here solely on jobs. Do you think that misses the point?
Oh, very much so. This president, this White House, the vice president today, whether it's the Middle Class Task Force, whether it's the president's work on the jobs bill with the House and the Senate, jobs is the #1 priority. Obviously, health care reform is something we've been working on since we got here. And by the way, there's a big employment aspect to that, too. It's a huge competitive burden for small businesses in particular. So make no mistake about it, whether it's getting credit to small businesses to boost their hiring, whether it's more infrastructure investment, whether it's the continued implementation of another half of the Recovery Act to come, every day, main focus, absolutely.
Jared, we got to go. Have a great weekend.